At 200 feet beneath the ice, Dr. Lena Voss hears something chewing in the dark. Her thermal camera shows no movement. Her rifle has frozen shut. And the rescue shuttle above her will leave orbit in 6 hours, with or without her. Then the wall beside her begins to breathe. A section of white armor separates from the ice. Beneath it, a black eye opens. The animal is nearly 9 feet long, built like a grizzly bear, and wearing the face of something that once fit inside a child's hand. It is a hamster, or at least it was. Welcome to Seed World Epsilon, where humanity tried to build a paradise without predators. What evolved instead was the Tundra Dreadnought, a cold-adapted, armor-plated cannibal that turned an entire frozen planet into its feeding ground. And Lena has just entered its nursery. Millions of years earlier, the architects of Seed World Epsilon believed they had solved nature's oldest problem. They removed the violence. No hawks circled overhead. No snakes waded beneath the grass. No parasites moved through the soil. Across an engineered continent of seed-bearing plants, clover, and nutrient-rich roots, they released several thousand golden hamsters. The animals found no cages and no enemies. They ate, they burrowed, they multiplied. Within centuries, golden colonies spread across the plains. With every large ecological niche left vacant, different populations began moving into them. Some remained small, others became heavier, slower, and increasingly specialized for grazing and excavation. The creators recorded the expansion from orbit. Then, without explanation, their transmissions stopped. The hamsters inherited the world. But a world without predators was never a world without limits. As their numbers increased, interconnected burrows tore through the upper soil. Grazing stripped entire plains faster than the plants could recover. Root systems collapsed. Dust replaced grass. Colonies that had never needed to defend food began sealing tunnels, raiding neighboring chambers, and killing rivals beside the last patches of green. Paradise did not end with a monster. It created the conditions that would build one. The final collapse came from the sky. Gravitational disturbances from a nearby gas giant slowly pulled Seed World into a colder orbit. At almost the same time, volcanic eruptions darkened the atmosphere with sulfur aerosols. Summers weakened, winters lengthened, snow stopped melting. The vegetation line retreated toward volcanic regions, while glaciers advanced across the continents. In only a geological instant, the golden plains disappeared beneath ice. Most hamster lineages died with them. The few that survived clustered around geothermal caves, where heat from below kept thin ecosystems alive. Fungi covered the warm stone. Chemosynthetic microbes fed insect-like burrowers. Tough roots penetrated cracks near volcanic vents. There was still energy on Seed World, but never enough. Cold conditions favored animals capable of conserving heat. Larger bodies lose heat more slowly relative to their mass, a broad evolutionary pattern associated with Bergmann's rule. But cold alone could not transform a hamster into a giant. The real pressure was competition around the planet's shrinking geothermal refuges. Larger animals could break frozen ground, seize warm chambers, and survive longer between meals. Generation after generation, size became territory. Territory became food. Food became reproduction. The survivors grew. Their limbs thickened into short, weight-bearing columns. Their claws became wide excavation tools that could split permafrost and pull apart frozen roots. Dense fur trapped air close to the skin, while oily secretions stopped melting snow from soaking through the coat. The strangest change formed beneath that fur. Thick keratinized shields developed across the shoulders, skull, and spine. Under those shields, small bony deposits reinforced the skin. The result was not perfect armor, but it was enough to protect the animals from falling ice and from the teeth of their own kind. By the time human descendants returned to Seed World Epsilon, the largest specimens outweighed a polar bear. The expedition came to determine why the original architects had abandoned the planet. Lena came for a different reason. Her father had disappeared there 22 years earlier. His final transmission contained 11 seconds of static, a metallic scraping sound, and 4 words. They don't hunt alone. Lena had spent half her life proving that the signal was real. Now, she stood inside the same geothermal cave system from which it had been transmitted, carrying his damaged locator tag in her pocket. The mission was supposed to last 90 minutes. At minute 43, the entrance collapsed. At minute 47, something dragged the expedition's drilling rig into a tunnel too narrow for the machine to enter. At minute 51, Lena lost contact with the other 3 members of her team. Now the creature beside her rises from the ice. Its armor moves in overlapping sections as it turns. Frost hangs from the whiskers along its muzzle. Each strand is thick enough to sense tiny changes in air pressure, allowing the animal to navigate where vision is almost useless. Lena presses herself against the wall. The Dreadnought sniffs once. Her suit warns that the heating system is failing. Warm air leaks through a tear near her ribs. On the animal's face, the whiskers angle toward her. She stops breathing. Somewhere farther down the tunnel, ice cracks. The Dreadnought turns toward the sound and charges. It does not lumber. Its claws bite into the frozen floor, throwing its enormous body forward with shocking speed. A scream bursts through Lena's radio, then cuts off beneath a wet impact. One of her teammates was still alive. Lena waits until the chewing begins before she moves. Cannibalism had existed in golden hamsters long before Seed World. Under severe stress, territorial conflict, or inadequate resources, even a mother could consume her offspring. On the frozen planet, that emergency behavior became something more systematic. At first, the survivors ate only the dead. A frozen body contained fat and protein that could keep a colony alive through the darkest weeks. But as glacial periods deepened, colonies that waited for natural deaths lost territory to colonies that did not. Selection rewarded brutality. The Dreadnoughts began expelling injured adults from the warm center of the huddle. During famine, dominant animals killed the weak before they could consume more food. Cannibalism could never create new energy, but it could concentrate the remaining energy into the individuals most likely to survive and reproduce. The geothermal web kept the species alive. Their own bodies decided which bloodlines continued. Lena follows the signal from her father's locator through a descending corridor. The walls are polished by generations of armored bodies. Deep grooves run through the ice at shoulder height. Then the tunnel opens. Hundreds of dreadnoughts lie packed around a volcanic fissure, their bodies forming a living ring around the heat. Adults sleep along the outer edge. Smaller females occupy chambers closer to the vent. At the center, dozens of hairless newborns twitch against the warm stone. Lena's scanner detects her father's locator below them. She realizes the cave is not merely a shelter, it is a sorting chamber. An old male struggles at the edge of the huddle. One rear leg no longer supports its weight. 2 younger animals approach, not from the front, but from opposite sides. They drive it away from the geothermal fissure. The old male tries to return. The colony closes the gap. For several seconds, it stands alone in the freezing corridor. Then the younger animals follow it into the dark. Lena hears one short bellow. Nothing comes back. Her scanner begins to pulse faster. The locator is not beneath the nursery. It is moving through it. A female dreadnought rises, revealing a metal tag embedded beneath the plates of her chest. Scar tissue has grown around it. Lena's father must have fired the locator into the animal before he died. The same animal has survived for more than 2 decades, and it remembers the sound of the device. Lena reaches for the transmitter. The tag answers with a sharp electronic chirp. Every head in the chamber lifts. The adults do not immediately attack. They spread into the surrounding tunnels. One blocks the path behind her. Two more move toward the higher corridor leading to the surface. They are not charging blindly. They are closing exits. Her father's warning was incomplete. The dreadnoughts do not simply hunt together. They shape the movement of their prey, using bodies, sound, and collapsing ice to drive it toward the colony. Lena runs for the volcanic fissure. Claws hammer the ground behind her. She throws herself across a narrow bridge of ice as a dreadnought crashes into the wall. The impact fractures the bridge. One slab drops into the glowing crack below, taking two newborns with it. The nursery erupts. A mother reaches the broken edge. For one instant, she claws at the gap where her offspring vanished. Then the temperature alarm inside the chamber begins to fall. Cold air pours through the damaged wall. The female turns back toward the surviving litter. She selects the smallest newborn. Lena looks away before the jaws close, but she hears the bones give way. There is no rage in the act, no pleasure. The mother consumes the infant quickly, converting a life unlikely to survive into energy that may protect the rest. That is what Seed World has become. Not a kingdom ruled by cruelty, but an economy in which every heartbeat carries a cost. Lena reaches the surface with 14 minutes before the shuttle's departure. Behind her, the ice buckles as the colony digs upward. The rescue pilot sees her signal and descends. Then, Lena notices the scratches beneath the shuttle's landing gear. Fresh scratches. One of the cargo doors is already open. Her father had been right. They do not hunt alone. But after millions of years trapped on a dying planet, hunting may no longer be their only goal. The Tundra Dreadnoughts have survived every limit their creators placed around them. They turned fur into insulation, skin into armor, families into food reserves, and geothermal caves into fortresses. Now, for the first time in their evolutionary history, one of them may have found a way off the ice. So what happens if that shuttle reaches a warmer world? Does the Tundra Dreadnought become unstoppable? Or does paradise make it weak again? Tell us your theory in the comments. Subscribe to What If Animals and watch the next evolution waiting in the dark. Because the most harmless creature in your home may only be harmless while the world allows it to be.